Now we're going to talk about the representation. So what it would look like if we had to represent or model a fraction by fraction. So we're going to use the same exact problem. We got 3/5 times 2/3. And there are two ways to model fraction by fraction. One is the box. And then the other is the bar. The very first one we're going to do is the box model, and we have to use the stuff that we talked about earlier. We have got to think about what we have first. Like, what fraction do we have? Do we have 3/5 or 2/3? And we talked about it up here. Because 2/3 comes second, it's whatever we're taking from or getting from or whatever this looks like. It's kind of the opposite of what we do in adding and subtracting with fractions or with other numbers. Is usually it's the first one is the number that you have, whereas this, it's like the second number is what you have, because we're taking 3/5 of 2/3. So when we see story problems, when we start getting into more story problems, if a farmer has 2/3 land and they're going to split it into 3/5 for corn, they have 2/3. Okay, you'll still get the same answers, but when we are representing, it's when it matters the most. Does that make sense? So when we're multiplying, you can put them in whichever position you want, but when you are representing, you have to show what you have. So we have 2/3. So we're going to model that first on our box. We're just going to do our box model first. So we have to split our box into how many pieces? If we're just modeling this fraction, how many pieces is that? It's 3. And the reason we know that is because of our denominator. So we're going to split our box into 3 pieces. Now we have to show that we have 2/3. This is different than when we like color them in. We're going to slash them because we're going to do a lot of work and we have to be able to see it. So we're not going to color these in because when we lay the two colors on top of each other, it'll look brown or gray or whatever gross color it is. So we're just going to slash them. So I'm going to do it in the color in which I did 2/3 in, and I'm going to slash 2/3. So I represented that I have 2/3. Now I'm going to represent that I have 3/5. Well, how would I represent that I have 3/5? I did my 2/3 this way, so I'm going to do my 3/5 this way. So I'm going to split the box now into fifths going this way. I'm not going to pay attention to the 2/3 that I have right now. I'm going to pretend like this is just a blank box. So I'm going to split it into fifths going the other way. Now I want to represent that I have 3 of those fifths. So I'm going to slash going the opposite way with my color that matches. So I'm going to slash going the opposite way. I'm going to slash all the way through, not like all the way through, but I mean like this is 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. I'm going to go all the way through the fifths. I'm going to still ignore the thirds. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. So now I've slashed 2/3 and 3/5. Where my two colors overlap, that is my answer. So I want us to pay attention and look. Where do my two colors overlap? And let's say you didn't have colors, that's why we do the opposite slashing so you can see. So it would be, where do my two slashes overlap? And it is right here. Do we agree with that? How many pieces is that? And this is where we're gonna need our highlighter. We're gonna now shade that in. And if we notice, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pieces out of how many? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of how many? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It is 6 pieces out of 15. You see how that represents 3/5 of 2/3? Now we have to simplify it. We did all the work up there. Does everybody see that? And if you're like, oh, well, how do we know, like, how does it represent 2/5? Because if we split this into 5 pieces, we would have 3 and 1, 3 and 1, 3, 3, 3. Well, there's 1, 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we're gonna model still 3/5 of 2/3 on a bar. And when we do this, we're gonna really pay attention to which one we do first. And so we're gonna model 2/3 first still. But we're not gonna model it like going this way and then going this way and like doing crazy things. We're gonna only go up and down. So our lines are gonna be up and down. We're gonna make lines longer. So when I say our first fraction, we need to represent with really long lines. That's so that someone who looks at our model should be able to tell what we're representing. That's the whole purpose of a model. It's not just to show the answer. So I wouldn't have drawn 5 bars and shaded in 2. It's to model what is happening. And so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna split our bar into 3 pieces. 3 pieces. When we draw these lines, we're gonna draw really long lines through them. Not like crazy long, but just long enough for us to tell. And what our long lines represent is that is the fraction, our first fraction that we're drawing. So we have 2/3, that means we're gonna shade in 2, and by shade I mean slash them out. Then we're gonna split each one of these thirds into 5 pieces based on our denominator. So we're gonna split each one of these thirds into 5 pieces, just like we did here, except we pretended that there wasn't a box. So we're gonna split each one of these thirds into 5 pieces. We're gonna do the same thing here. We're even gonna split this one that we're not using. So we're gonna split these into fifths. And these lines are not gonna be as long. If you notice, these lines don't go as long as the other ones. Then we're gonna shade in 3/5 of each set of 5. We're not gonna shade them in because we wanna be able to see. We're gonna slash them in. So I shaded in 3/5, 3/5, 3/5. Where our colors overlap represents our answer. Now you need to get out your highlighter and color in those parts. And when we observe this, we notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces out of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we have 6 pieces out of 15, which is 6/15, which simplifies to 2/5. So that's how you model on a box and a bar. You're gonna wanna get out your practice models so we can do a couple more together. It's double-sided and it has both a box and a bar, and we're gonna model both a box and a bar for everyone. Eventually you'll get to pick which way you wanna model it, but we're gonna learn how to do both of them.